In 2012, the book-to-film adaptation for Perks of Being a Wallflower hit the big screen, and there is one scene that I just can't get out of my head.
We accept the love we think we deserve.
No, I'm talking about this scene. And my love for that scene has very little to do with the story or the plot or the characters, and everything to do with Emma Watson's red sweater top. Since I saw this movie for the first time, I have wanted that red sweater top. I have searched for it out in the wild with no luck. Today, I'm going to indulge my most toxic trait, which is thinking I could make that with pretty much anything I see. And we're going to see if that's true. My plan is to knit the body and then work the front panel and back panel separately, and then attach them with a twisted rib neck collar. I'll have to work some decreases to get the shaping. I may or may not work decreases on the side for a more fitted look. Another thing to consider is in the movie, she does have a cabling pattern on the front and back panels of her sweater top. I have decided not to include that. I should mention there are going to be a couple differences between the piece in the film and the one I end up making. First thing to keep in mind is that the piece in the film is most likely machine made. It's using a very small gauge, and for me to achieve that gauge, I would have to use 1mm needles or even smaller. And I don't hate myself, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be knitting it at a slightly larger gauge. And that is the reason why I'm not including the cabling pattern. Since I'll be using a larger gauge, the cabling pattern, if I were to recreate it, would have a lot more dimension and appear more bold on my piece than the one in the film. And I don't want to include it and instead have it be the focal point on my piece. So in order to achieve the more minimalistic vibe of the one in the film, I'm going to be leaving the cabling pattern out. I did draw out a cabling chart just in case I change my mind, but I don't think I will. The last key difference to keep in mind is I'm designing this to fit my body, not Emma Watson's body, and so it's going to be proportioned a little differently since I'm proportioned a little differently to her. If this goes well, it'll hopefully be a piece that I will incorporate in my wardrobe on a regular basis, and so I want it to be designed to fit me well the way I want it to. And because of that, it might look a little different than the one in the film. For the yarn, it was difficult to discern details given in the film it is intentionally grainy for a vintage feel, and this top is in low lit scenes only. To me, it looks like a denser yarn with minimal stitch definition and a light halo around it. Since this project doesn't require nearly as much yarn as, say, an oversized sweater, I've decided to treat myself.
Treat yourself.
And go to my local yarn shop and see what fancy yarns they have there that I can work with. I'm back from the yarn store. I picked up not enough yarn. I picked up 2 hanks that I have since wound up of Classy Cashmere Dream in Color yarn in their Valentine colorway. Also, I don't want to have to make this project twice or rip it back after making significant progress. So to lower the chances of having to do that, I decided to make a gauge swatch. I'm going to take a minute to celebrate the fact that I made a gauge swatch. I'm feeling really good about this. A year ago, never ever did I make gauge swatches. And now it depends on the project and how willing I would be to rip it back. To make this gauge swatch, I used 3.75mm needles or US size 5. And my gauge ended up being 5.25 stitches per inch. Since I'm going for a fairly snug fit, I'm going for 0 inches of positive ease before blocking. And by the time I'm done blocking, this is superwash merino. Actually, I should say what that is. 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Now, since it's mostly superwash merino, it's going to grow quite a bit. And so I'm planning for a snug fit. To get that fit, I took my measurements, and my largest bust size is 39 inches. And so if you do 39, hi baby. To get the size I want, I took my measurements. I'm going for 39 inches in diameter for the body. And since my gauge is 5.25 stitches per inch, if I take 5.25 and multiply that by 39, it gives me 205 5 point something. I did the math a minute ago on a calculator. That's not just from my head. I was just trying to remember what the number is. I can kind of see my notes. 204.75. I'm going to round down to 204. So I'm going to start by casting on 204 stitches, and I'm actually going to size down my needle because I'm going to start with the ribbing at the bottom of the sweater and do my twisted rib stitch, which is going to be pretty tight. So I'm going to size down from a 3.75 millimeter needle to a 3.5 millimeter needle because twisted rib knit is already tightening things up a bit. I don't think I need to go that much smaller. Maybe I should. Maybe I should do a 3.25. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'll go down to a 3.25. I'd rather have it be tighter. My next step is going to be casting on 204 stitches onto 3.25 millimeter needles and doing maybe 2 inches of ribbing. And I think I'll use the backwards loop method to cast on. I'm not a long tail cast on kind of person. Okay, when I was at the yarn store, the woman working there saw my shirt and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I love your shirt. Where can I get that?" And I was telling her that it's, if you know Taylor Earl, who runs Wool Needles Hands, the YouTube channel and Instagram and website, and you can buy these t-shirts on her website, and she has a ton of different like fun crafting related t-shirts. I also like one. She has one that says multi-craftual, and I really like that. So I might get another one. Brief introduction. I have 2 cats, Pippin and Mary. Pippin is a little bit older than Mary. They are both girls despite being named after men. They're named after the 2 hobbits, well, 2 of the 4 main hobbits in Lord of the Rings. I just went on a walk. It was the first time that I've taken my project bag out walking with me. And I don't know what I expected, but walking and knitting at the same time was a lot easier than I was predicting. I think I was under the impression that it was going to require a lot of focus, but honestly, I think it required the same amount of focus and eye attention as like texting and walking at the same time. I was also surprised by just how much I was able to get done. I made it through an inch of ribbing on the walk itself. All right, I'm done with the ribbing. I get to switch now to a 7.5 millimeter needle and start working stockinette stitch in the round on the body. And I'll probably do that for 6 inches. I don't know, we'll see. All right, I have finished the body of the sweater. I've worked 8 inches of body, and I have a very short torso. I'm going for a crop look, and superwash merino tends to grow. So I'm making it pretty short on purpose because I'm expecting this to block out to be the exact size that I'm looking for. Ooh, and one more thing. So I'm splitting to do the front and back now, right? And this is how much yarn I have left. It is half of 1 skein. So I'm thinking I'll be able to do the entire front panel or close to that with just 1 skein, which means I'll only need 1 more, which will be 3 in total, and that's not so bad. I'm really hoping to not need 4, and I'm thinking 3 will be enough. So I might hit up the store later today and pick up that last skein. Ooh, look at it. Look at how good it's coming together. It looks so good. I'm feeling so much better about this project now. So last night I finished the front and the back panel, and I also blocked it so that I could make sure that the fit and everything was good before moving on to the next steps. I tried it on this morning because it's mostly dry. The fit is exactly what I planned, and that makes me really happy that what I was picturing in my head is what is happening. If you're ever like not into a project you're working on, just try blocking it and see how it fits. See how you feel, because blocking just fixes so many problems. Hashtag blocking for life. One thing I will say about the fit is I do like it, but I was wrong about something. So I was scared to do any negative ease because, first off, the fit in the film, to me, it doesn't look like it has any negative ease. It looks like it has an inch of positive ease, which is about what I planned for. I think I actually have 2 inches of positive ease. And I was scared to do anything less than that. And so it's definitely out of my comfort zone to work on a project that has 0 inches of positive ease or even 1 or 2. But after trying it on, those fears are gone. And I definitely could have gone with like an inch less of positive ease. However, I think that the next steps are going to help tighten up the fit a little bit. And so I'm not going to judge it yet until the whole thing is done. But it's so close to perfect that I'm completely unbothered. Even if it maintains its current level of ease, that's okay with me. All right, to show it to you a little bit better, I'm going to attach my mic to my shirt. And this is the part of the video where I get to look down and talk at you the whole time. So you get to see this wonderful soft jaw at its best. Please love and appreciate the soft jaw girlies out here. She's so pretty. So I did the front and the back panel last night, like I said, and my initial plan going in was to make them exactly the same. However, I decided in the moment that I wanted to make the back panel slightly narrower. And I did that because when I go to do the collar, if you look at the top in the film, there's the portion in the front where it attaches to the front panel, and then the portion in the back where it attaches to the back panel. And then on the sides, it has the areas where it's attached to nothing. If I were to make the front and back panel the same size, I wouldn't have an area where it's attached to nothing because it would go around my entire neck, or the collar would just be way too big. And so to get that area on the sides, that effect of it being attached to nothing, I decided to make the back panel a little bit narrower, and I think that solves my problems. Before I do the collar, though, I am going to do an I-cord edge. So while my edges look not so bad, actually, they look pretty good. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I have nice edges, except for, don't look at this part, but right here, right? This 2 inches looks flawless. So we're going to add an I-cord edge, and it's not just to clean it up. It's actually going to be giving it some structure and tightening things up. So when I go to add an I-cord edge, what I'm hoping for is this part of the body where it naturally wants to stretch apart, that adding a nice tight I-cord is going to help it want to stay together. And that should give me the exact amount of ease I am looking for in this project. That is the hope. Fingers crossed. It's also why I blocked this first, so that when I go to do the I-cord edge, I can have it be a little bit more accurate as far as the tightness that I'm looking for. And obviously you don't want the I-cord to be too tight because then you get some rippling. What was I just talking about? I-cord edging. I was just talking about I-cord edging. Oh, on the topic of I-cord edging, I was also thinking, I'm not going to do this because I have a mission here, but it would be really cute to do, I don't know if I can like represent this well on screen. It would be really cute to do an I-cord edging all around the armhole and then add the I-cord tube, which is just called an I-cord, attaching the front and back panels and having it be a tank top and having 2 I-cord straps on it. I think that would be so cute. I might make something like that sometime. I'm really into that idea. Before I can do the I-cord edge, though, I need to go to the yarn store. It happened. I ran out of yarn. I know I said I was going to get it like the other day. Maybe it was even 2 days ago. I'm so bad at leaving the house. I don't leave the house ever. This is how much yarn I have left. So I officially need to get another skein. But I have mixed feelings about this. This is the amount of yarn I have left. It's not enough to finish the project, and I need to buy more. I have mixed feelings about this because on one hand, yarn ain't cheap, and I only need a little bit. I'm devastated that like I need to buy an entire skein just to do the collar. But on the other hand, I'm also pretty happy because I was pretty down on myself. Like, wow, girl, you really thought that 2 skeins was going to be enough to do this entire project? That's a bit ridiculous of an assumption. And I'm glad that it's honestly not that ridiculous of an assumption. With 2 skeins, I made it pretty dang far. And I'm really happy with how this is coming together. If I was going to do this as the tank top with just the I-cord edging, I would give it a little bit of negative ease and you would have just the right amount of yarn. Well, not you, because you're not the same size as me. So maybe you'd have extra yarn or you'd need a 3rd skein. So I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to pick up more of the Dream in Color Valentine colorway. I am back. I got my yarn, I got my burrito, and I'm ready to go. Let's do some I-cord.
One eternity later.
Well, attempt number 1 on the I-cord edge did not go too hot after my big speech about obviously you don't want to do it too tight because then you'll get rippling. And obviously you don't want the I-cord to be too tight because then you get some rippling. Oh, I don't want to look at it anymore. But then attempt number 2 was so much better. Ugh, I nailed it. Oh, look at that. It's so good. I really love how this top turned out. The fit is everything I wanted it to be, the shape, everything. I'm really excited that I love this piece enough to incorporate it in my ordinary wardrobe and start wearing it pretty regularly. It's really interesting working on a project like this and seeing how your perception of the project changes throughout the process, because there were many points throughout this project where I had lost all faith. It was not turning out anything like I wanted it to. It was turning out to be a complete misfire from my expectations, and I wanted to stop it. In between each of those times, I would then do another step and then fall in love with it, and it's turning out exactly how I want it to. It's fascinating to me that I almost ripped this whole thing completely back and started from scratch so many times. And I'm glad I just finished it because now I love it. I'm so glad I didn't peel it back. The fit, the ease, everything is exactly what I wanted it to be. I have a possibly controversial question to ponder to the comment section if you're willing to weigh in. This is a swatch. It's the same red swatch I showed towards the beginning of the video. I'm going to take a minute to celebrate the fact that I made a gauge swatch, and I dyed it to be it's a sort of cross between plum and burgundy. Are you of the opinion that me dyeing this top this color would completely ruin it? I am an agent of crafting chaos though, and I'm not entirely convinced I want to stick with the marled effect. I think I'll wear it for a while, and if I still am like, I think it would be better if I dyed it, I'll dye it. I'm okay with that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you cringe if I dyed this top this color? In case anybody out there is interested, I did put together a Ravelry bundle under my username Breathing Yarn. I found 9 different patterns. I was only able to track down 2 crochet patterns, but I was happy I was able to track down any. I found this really interesting pattern from 2008, which actually I think has the most similar look among all the crochet patterns included in this bundle. It was so interesting looking at previous projects from the past, 15 years? I think the most similar pattern is the dandelion stitch pattern. You could choose to leave the texture on or off. I think it would look great either way. But for most of the patterns on here, you could honestly get away with just making the collar a bit longer if you want to have a more similar vibe to the tops in the movie. I did include patterns that have more or less coverage depending on whatever you're more comfortable with. There will be more videos like this, so go ahead and subscribe if that's something you're interested in. If you were not into today's video, I'm glad you made it this far, and thank you for joining me today. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Bloop, bloop, bloop.